quite an amazing point. But the evolution concept of micro, I still would think in terms of we have something coming forth in its own kind. If we have to use evolution, it's within that. I know Michael Behe will acknowledge, give me a cell, and you can have something evolving after that. But to get that cell, to get it organized, to get it to exist, to survive in the prebiotic soup or whatever, or come out of it, is a virtual probability situation, which is a null, a zero.
And that's the point we're making. So here, as we bridge between intelligent design and creation now, what we're saying is that creation, see, in my mind, creation fits exactly with intelligent design. You don't need creation to prove intelligent design. Intelligent design, I think, is provable purely on the basis of the science that we've talked about for an hour and a half now. Okay, and there's far, far, far more than obviously what we've talked about, and there's far more than I can even comprehend. So intelligent design is a standalone scientific system of understanding. Creation is a biblical interpretation of what I think intelligent design is. And when you look at the creative process in Genesis, what we see is a very logical, sequential order of events. That says God created, and God did this, and God put things in order, and God said, let these things bring forth after their kind, and God put it in order in a way that we could understand without science. So in my mind, the two work so well together that it was very hard for me to approach this program and not deal with the God part and just deal with the science part. And I had to convince myself, because to me, I like to combine the two. Now, and Bob, let's just for a few minutes, and I can't spend a lot of time on this, but what about intelligent design as curriculum in school?
That's a challenging question, too, because I think for fear of the concept of church-state problems, many people are worried about the fact that the Christian community and or any other community will try to enforce not just a creation section or a subject, but they'll also try to bring in their particular theological bent, which, of course, in past history of the Christian church has not been particularly comfortable when governments and churches function together. So people are worried about church-state. In fact, there are people out there at theocracywatch.org who are quite concerned about the structure of religion getting involved too much with government. But to bring in the subject at the level that the people like Michael Behe and others are concerned with, I think we have no problem. If it were introduced the way they're suggesting, that it should be considered as an alternative way that life came into existence, that it was not random, that it was some kind of design that was put into it. I think we're dealing with the realistic facts. There's a paper that's on the website that you mentioned, which is, I believe, discovery.org, which is by it's been put up there for a particular reason. The gentleman who did the analysis came to a conclusion that if we're going to evaluate scientific method and compare the scientific method of descent, which is the Darwinian view, versus, let's say, intelligent design, we really can find that they're really functioning in the same basic structure. I think it's Stanley Meyer, in fact, who wrote the article. You can check it on discovery.org. Or search the website itself. There's a lot of good articles up there. But their point is, and I think it's well taken, that there it goes again. It lies right away.
If you're going to treat one
scientific method, if you're going to treat scientific method, you can look at both of them and say that they're both failing in the same ways, and they both have the same positives. And Stanley Miller concludes by saying that if you're going to consider intelligent design pseudoscience, based on the structure of the evaluation of how this is working, you might as well call Darwinian thinking also pseudoscience. Bring them in at the same level. Now, of course, scientists will not like the idea because it still smacks in their minds of a religious bent. And since you're hearing us from this perspective, you know that we have that bent already. But again, we observe with the scientists who are creation-oriented and with the scientists who are strictly intelligent design-oriented that we are able to see something in the preparation of what exists as living beings and living things, some form of order which is so complex, irreducibly complex, that it could not have happened by chance by any stretch of the imagination.
So, by looking at all of that, what I would say, if somebody were to, and nobody will, but if somebody were to say, Rick, what do you think about teaching intelligent design in schools? Matter of fact, Jonathan, why don't you ask me that question?
Rick, what do you think about teaching intelligent design in schools?
You know, Jonathan, I'm glad you asked me that question because I do have an opinion on the matter. And what I would say to that is real simple. I'd say I think it belongs there. But I would also say that leave out the word God and leave out the Bible. Just put it next to the theory of evolution and say, here's the theory of evolution and a theory of the origin of man. Here's the theory of intelligent design and the origin of man. Take a look at the positives and negatives on both and see what you think.
And that's basically only through a scientific view of it.
Right. And you know, for me to say, take out God, to me it's important just for the sake of the science to be able to investigate such a thing based purely and solely on the science. Now, to me, intelligent design means God. Go ahead.
You know, it's interesting because in the classroom, it may not be implicit, but it happens that science teachers will almost shoot down the possibility of there being an intelligent life, a God, outside of the universe, outside of this world, that could have done something like this. It's not just, for example, going back many years ago in discussing this with my wife, she mentioned that when she was taking biology, the first question that was asked in the biology class was, do any of you still believe in creation as it's taught in the Bible? And although she knew there were many in the classroom that believed as she did that God created man, only she raised her hand. And it was quite an embarrassing situation in some ways because he was quite severe in his comments about how foolish she was. Now, that is the other side of the story.
Right.
We're not going to teach creation in school, all right, but then let's not take a science point of view that demolishes the faith of children, that actually puts it in the position, well, why are you believing such a foolish thing? How could you believe? And if you happen to be agnostic or happen to be a science teacher who is an atheist, how dare you almost present your presentation in such a way to demolish someone else's faith structure? After all, scientists have their faith. Our previous caller referred to his belief. We believe such and such. Well, we believe something also. Let's bring this on a par.
And again, handle it purely from a scientific standpoint. Forget bringing God into the picture. For some of us, God is implicit. For others, we want to stay as far away from it as possible. But let's not ignore the amazing science that we're seeing as we look at this intelligent design concept. Folks, it's fascinating. In the last segment coming up, we're going to talk about the future, if it's intelligent design, or the future if it's evolution.
This is Jonathan and Rick with Christian Questions with special guest Bob Gray on News Talk 102.3 FM WXLM. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Christian Questions on News Talk 102.3 FM WXLM. Our subject this morning, is it intelligent design or evolution? To be a part of our program, call 860-442-6102. That's 442-6102.